The title for today is Everything Done for You. And the reason why we kind of went in that direction is because when we kind of talked about all of the things that are taken out of the process when you are using, PreciseFP and GReminders together, we were kind of like, everything is done for you. So, kind of those items that are sitting stagnant on your desk where you're like, I need to add this onto my CRM calendar, or I need to send off the invite to my prospect or my client. Those things do not have to sit static on your desk anymore. They're going to be done automatically for you. We're going to demonstrate, what each software does and then what it does together, and kind of show you the power between the two. But definitely it's going to be something that's very powerful and will probably add a lot of value to your office. So today presenting, I'm Nora Gallegos. I work with PreciseFP. I'm the financial planning content thought leader. I've been working in technology for financial advisors for about 10 years now. So I definitely love talking about practice management and any type of best practice. And I'm joined here with Zira. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, yes, thank you. I'm Ziera Burkett. I am the Partner Relationship Manager with GReminders. I have experience in the financial services industry. I worked in marketing and operations for an advisory firm, and then later for an RA operations consultant, helping them build and implement Redtail and WealthBox CRMs.
Go ahead and tell us a little bit about GReminders.
GReminders is an online scheduling and reminders and automation platform built for advisors. So our main goal here is limiting human error, streamlining and increasing productivity, and then of course reducing those no-shows in your practice. So how does GReminders really fit into the financial services industry, and where did we sort of start out? In 2018, we saw a niche in the marketplace because Google had stopped offering text reminders. The G in GReminders was really meant to stand for Google, as in Google Reminders, since initially we only offered reminders for appointments on the Google Calendar. But it really didn't take long for us to offer reminders on Outlook and then move into online scheduling. But then from there, it really just seemed like a natural progression to move into the financial services industry as we saw this need becoming greater for advisors. We spent the last, I guess, almost a year and a half building and tailoring our platform to advisors and their needs. And since then, we are now recognized as the only automated scheduling and reminders platform with a direct integration to both Redtail and WealthBox, offering that two-way sync between your calendar and your CRM. How do we stand out from your current automated scheduling system? I want to keep this really high level because I want to really focus on obviously the PreciseFP side, but want to introduce GReminders so there's a full understanding. But for starters, GReminders is so much more than an automated scheduler. It's unique in that it completely automates these processes that would otherwise be so extensive that it'd be necessary to whiteboard them out and then build them into this elaborate workflow. So unlike other systems, we automate workflows in Redtail and WealthBox. GReminders automatically launches Redtail activity templates, so you no longer need to manually launch those when you're trying to work through your operational processes. We also update contact information and add new contacts to your CRM when appointments are scheduled. Our system writes to UDFs and custom fields. We integrate with your calendar, be it the Redtail calendar, Google or Microsoft. You can integrate your video conferencing platforms like Zoom, Google Meet, Teams, and Skype to offer meeting locations to your clients and prospects. You'll have the ability to send reminders for initial notifications for bookings, standard reminders, follow-ups, reschedule, and cancellation notifications all automatically. And then that's all going to be managed directly from your CRM and your calendar. So the whole purpose here is not needing to send additional booking links or emails or maybe log into another platform and live out of it. Everything is just going to be within your CRM. We've kind of taken these consistent advisor scheduling pain points and tried to create this all-in-one solution just so you can better service those clients and prospects. So it really led into the integration with PreciseFP because it's just another way for us to help automate these sometimes manual steps when we're trying to create that client touch or that client relationship.
There we go. Yeah, so that's very nice. I can tell that probably adds a whole layer of convenience and everything is, you know, sent off in one clean sweep. And since you do have that background with Redtail and Box, I'm sure you were able to address all of those concerns that come up.
And more, right? I think as the industry expands and we service our clients differently, it's just this ever growing, the pain points we solve today might be completely different than the ones we see advisors having a year from now. And so we're just trying to stay expansive in that regard and customizable.
You're in PreciseFP and you are, engaging with the client or a prospect, the best part about it is that you get to pre-fill those forms. So it's not like, the dentist office where you've been going to the same dentist for like 10 years and you get that blank iPad and you're like, why do I have to fill out my first name and last name again? It could already be pre-filled. So the idea is, maybe from the information that's coming from GReminders that's going into your CRM, you could pull that information then into the PreciseFP profile form. So that way, when they're getting a correspondence from you, it's already pre-filled and you're just building off of that relationship rather than starting from scratch like, hey, what's your first name? What's your address? Who's your employer? So it really does add to that customer experience. I kind of want to ask everybody about your current scheduling process. So if have a rough estimate, go ahead and throw it into the chat as well of how much time do you spend going back and forth with emails just to schedule a meeting? So I know you probably have this experience too, because I was working at Redtail previously for about 8.5 years. And same thing, when we would build out, let's say, a client review workflow or a prospect meeting workflow, you're having to build into the process to reach out to that client or that prospect to confirm the meeting. And then you could build an outcome that says, in a perfect world situation, they confirm the meeting and everything moves on in a linear direction. But oftentimes you don't live in that perfect world. So what happens if they reschedule? And then you have to change the date and you have to reconfirm. So research from the 2019 State of Meetings report is stating that professionals spend an average of 4.8 hours per week coordinating meeting schedules. So it's a big number there to be dealing with the frustration of, hey, does this date and time work? And then, they have to check their calendar and you're awaiting responses. So, a big time saver there when you're eliminating this from the process.
And I would even wager to say that it might be a little more than that when we speak specifically to the financial services industry, because especially depending on what kind of advisor you are, right? So the annuity advisors or those duly registered, sometimes whenever it comes to the prospecting processes, the post seminar, trying to, schedule that first appointment after they've come in for that dinner seminar, there's so many touch points within the industry that we're working on scheduling, whether it be with prospects or clients, that I would almost wager, and this is really just from my own bias working in the industry, and I know the amount of time, it was like a part-time job for me, really just scheduling alone with prospects and getting them in with our advisors, and then, having to call and do confirmation calls. GReminders is working to solve that as well. So there's so many touch points with scheduling. It's almost not even just the initial phone call when we're trying to schedule the ARs with existing clients. It's even further than that.
Yeah, and I love that because how many offices have you worked with where they're contemplating like, do I need to add a new person onto the staff? And
Mhm.
then you realize, well, maybe this technology can kind of fill in that gap. All right, well, the next thing we'll just kind of touch on, what is PreciseFP, and then we'll jump into the live demonstrations. So PreciseFP is a data gathering platform. So you want to think about those moments where, someone on staff is tasked with calling maybe a prospect or a new client and sitting on the phone with them for, the half hour plus and just going through and notating all of the items that you need to collect. So, they're gathering the date of birth, the insurance information, the assets, the liabilities, the beneficiaries. What PreciseFP is doing is kind of eliminating that phone call and doing it through the online form. So a prospect or a client is going to get an engagement. Most commonly, it's going to be that fact finder, and they're going to be filling out their own information. So hopefully they're filling out their own information correctly, and then that good, clean data is going to feed right into your other software, whether that's your CRM, your financial planning software, or anything else that you need. Most often, offices are using it as a fact finder, but we definitely have some offices that are using it for service agreements, form CRS, IPS, risk tolerance. All of that is included in your subscription as well. So
I'll pull up here. So I want to keep this high level, but I do want to show you around just a little bit of the platform, and so that way we can kind of get a full picture, kind of the reason for the PreciseFP integration. So the first thing, when you first log into GReminders, you'll kind of be met with this landing page. GReminders is not meant to be a system that you live out of. It's just supposed to be an extension of your tech stack, but really an extension of your CRM. We want you to live out of your CRM and your calendar rather than maybe jumping into GReminders. It's meant to really be just built out once and then let us kind of do the work, right? So this is not meant to be a calendar that you're logging into, looking at, and driving your day out of, but it is where you would manage the integration of your calendars. So as a user, you can integrate up to 5. That's not per organization, just per user. So those personal calendars that you might have of, pick the kids up from school, doctor's appointments, that way we're not congesting the work calendar, but we can still send reminders against and check availability. But of course, anything that's listed as primary, that's where our actual meetings will be booked on when we're sending out that booking link.
your personal calendar is overlaying with your work calendar to
Right, and then not everybody has to know when your dentist appointment is, or your plans on the weekend. But also, maybe you like the added benefit of the personal reminders that we have. I know I take advantage of them. So in my GReminders, I have my personal calendar integrated. So these are not things that are landing on my meeting calendar that the rest of my coworkers can see, but I still get reminders on, texted to my phone, like Addie's first day of preschool or, doctor's appointment here. But that way nobody else, can be on top of what's going on, but I get to still take advantage of the reminders aspect. And then GReminders will also check against my availability. So even though it's not on my work calendar, I've integrated my personal calendar and it can see, oh, I'm busy that morning, and not offer that as a time to take a meeting with me.
No double booking.
We want to have a nice, clean calendar. Same thing, that we like to talk about with databases and CRMs, nice, clean data. So on the left-hand side, I always like to talk templates because I think our system and the way that it can be the most robust is when you're templating it. We really adopt the DRY principle, which is don't repeat yourself. And so we do that and configure that through templates. And so you'll have access to event type templates and reminder templates. A little side note, I like to offer financial advisors. When you're signing up for a free trial, if you were to do that today, you'd be met with a series of questions. What CRM do you use? What sort of advisor are you? Annuity advisor, duly registered, fee-based. And then what we'll do is take that information and we have compiled templates already built for you with suggested ramifications and criteria built within them that is completely customizable to yourself, but it gives you a shell. And so this is what you'd be met with as one of the databases. You'd have these already, given to you once you start in on the platform. So that way you have a baseline on really where to start. And so within these, you would click in, and then you'll be met with the build out. I'm not going to spend too much time going through each individual thing, but just a couple things that pop out for financial advisors. Of course, this is the public information, which whenever we click into this link to schedule, this is what it would look like. This would be my scheduling page for this initial consultation. You'll see my availability. I'll select, and we'll run through that in just a moment. Okay, I can add my meeting locations here. So I mentioned Google Meet, Teams, Skype, as well as any office addresses or phones. The event bookings criteria is going to look pretty similar to most automated schedulers, but a couple little nuances. There are things here like setting max number of events per day against meeting types and categories. So this is really great if you want GReminders to look into your Redtail calendar and see that you've already got 2 financial planning strategy meetings that day. You don't want to take more than that. So you can reduce this number, and whether it was scheduled manually or by us, we can see 2 already exist that day and not offer that as a day that they can schedule. So that you'll see meeting type and meeting category in Redtail speak to activity type and activity category for Redtail. Form questions, this is where you can collect information and it can be fed back to the CRM via the contact details or Redtail UDFs or Wealthbox custom fields. So obviously the contact information can be added to the CRM or updated on an existing contact card. You decide how you want that information to be mapped. But then maybe I have a couple custom, this initial consultation, I've got some custom questions. How do they take their coffee? What's their favorite snack? What is their favorite drink? And that information can be written back to Redtail UDFs or Wealthbox custom fields. Same thing for post-scheduled questions. We're speaking to an initial consultation, so maybe I don't want to ask them before they even schedule with me a bunch of information on their financial accounts. I think that might scare off somebody from scheduling. So this is going to give them the option once they've already scheduled to say, hey, do you want to give me a little bit more information? The invite details, how do you want it to land on your calendar? This is how you'll template that out. If you accept payments for your meetings, this is where you can set that up. And then right down here, we can now talk about our workflows, our opportunities, but then also our PreciseFP engagements. So whenever we've set this up and we've integrated this on the platform, which you'll do through your connected services in your GReminders platform, you'll see a little pop-up for PreciseFP, and you'll sign into your PreciseFP login that way, and that's how it will integrate within GReminders. Once you go into an event type build out, which is what we're in right now, you'll select workflows and automations, and there's a drop down. Now, whenever you have integrated your CRM and PreciseFP, all of your workflow templates for both Wealthbox and Redtail will populate here depending on what CRM you use. Same thing with the ability to create opportunities on the opportunity trackers for both Redtail and Wealthbox. For Redtail specifically, you'll also get your list of activity templates. So if you're mapping out those operational processes and activity templates rather than workflows, or maybe your workflows are so extensive, we have steps within them to go in and launch an activity workflow or an activity template manually. Instead, now, whenever somebody schedules with you, you can just elect that I want to select my workflow for Redtail and then also my activity templates. So now every time somebody schedules with me, I'll have my activity template launched and my workflow all automatically. And then of course, those tasks, steps, and the activity template will be assigned to who is outlined within the template. And then last but not least, if you have PreciseFP integrated, if you scroll all the way down, you'll see right here, PreciseFP form templates. And any form templates that you have assigned to your advisor under your PreciseFP platform, they will populate here. So as I know the lists are very extensive and that people can have quite a few. So if that's the case, I always like to say, this is also a free form text box, so you can type in this and all of that will pop up based on what I have typed here. So it's a quick way to find rather than having to scroll. I have on my demo database here, Wealthbox, Redtail, and PreciseFP integrated. So it's a long list I'm scrolling through. So this just makes it a lot easier. If you know you've got an introductory questionnaire and you want that fired off whenever the initial consultation is booked. It's a lot easier to find it that way than doing the scroll wheel, but you just select which PreciseFP form template you'd like to launch. And now when somebody schedules, they'll receive an email with that engagement that your advisor has assigned this engagement for you. Click here. And then on the PreciseFP side, in the same way, if you were to manually kick off that engagement and send it to them in a manual way, how it puts it in, I guess, I don't know what you guys call it, like a tracker, where it lets you know, it's like a timeline feed, and it lets you know so-and-so started the engagement. It'll let so you'll have that in the PreciseFP platform as well. So you don't have to worry about keeping track of it in GReminders. It's still available to you, and you can go into that engagement at any time, see where the prospect or client is at, and it's really just that easy.
As soon as someone schedules something with you, it gives you the perception that you're on it. You already sent them that engagement that's going to start the process. Once they schedule that appointment, then right away they're sharing their stuff, so that way you can get started on your part as well. And if you just think about the financial plan hours that you're saving by getting everything in motion, you already know their children's name, you already know all of their addresses, you already know their employer information, rather than spending that important meeting time gathering that information.
Streamline those operational processes without worrying about the human error aspect, of, oh my gosh, I forgot to send this out. Instead, everything's sort of kicking off for you automatically.
We're going to show you a few different options on, how to get everything crossed over. So if I were you, I would sit down as an office and think about how you want the client experience to go. Because do you want it like this, where, they're getting an engagement as soon as a calendar item is scheduled, or do you want it the reverse? Because I can also show really quickly where someone can be in an engagement and they can schedule the appointment that way. So you have different options. There's a paradox of choice where it's like, oh, I could do it this way, I could do it this way, I could do it that way, and it adds more confusion into it. So definitely maybe sit down as an office and think, where do you want them to start, or where do you want them to initiate it? When do you want them to, share their information? And at what point does the staff get involved or notified? When do we prep the conference room and things like that? So I
Right.
know I'm a visual person, so I'll show
Yeah.
that as well.
And that can look different too for each individual meeting type. Sitting down and whiteboarding out what each meeting process is, from the prep process to during the meeting to post, and what that process looks like, especially with those onboarding meetings. As Nora was saying, it's important to know exactly what your processes are, because this integration fits differently for different meetings.
Yes, exactly. Maybe you have this lead magnet that you've created, and in the lead magnet part, maybe you have something here that's like, download this to see, 5 ways to budget for retirement, or take this quiz to see if you can retire early. Whatever your lead magnet is, and we can help with that, and we have some templates already created to do that. But maybe right here, after they submit, maybe their first name, last name, and email, you want them to have the option to book a time on your calendar. So really simple. You have this plus sign whenever you want to add something new into an engagement. So if you click on that plus sign, and let's say you go down to the option that says calendar app, you're going to want to change this drop down to GReminders. And on your GReminders account, there is an option here that says share my link. And we do have written out directions on how to do this as well, with screenshot demonstrations. But you can go ahead and copy this link and paste it right into this element and create it. And when somebody is in this engagement, we'll kind of show it from a preview mode. When they're in this magnet and they share first couple details on your calendar.
Yeah, I love this option.
But within PreciseFP, you have an option in there called Web Publish. So you can see there on the side it says Web Published. And that option is one of the more underutilized portions of the system, but nonetheless, it's really valuable. When you see Web Published, what that means is you can make a form that you want code to be created for, and then that code can be copied and pasted into your website. And that, I'll show you very quickly what I mean. So let's say this is your website. You can add in, let's say, like the schedule button. And when you click on that schedule button, it can go ahead and open this PreciseFP form. So you create this form inside of PreciseFP. You put all of the fields that you would want to a prospect, or maybe even, your clients can start their process here. You would put all the fields here, and PreciseFP would create that code for you. So this, that what I just showed is mimicked here on this prospect form for website. It's really simple at that point. Then you just copy this code and paste it into your website. And that's how you would get this option, where as soon as someone hits schedule, it's going to open up this page. So I just wanted to jump into this web publishing option as well, just to show you the reminders calendar aspect also, because first you can do this option where I have this schedule button, and you'll notice when I click it, it's opening my GReminders calendar right away. So this is an option very quickly. They have access to your calendar. They can choose their time and date, and you'll get the notification. But you might be thinking, well, I don't just want them to have access to my calendar. I want them to fill out some initial details first, and I want those details to be added into PreciseFP. Well, that's when you would consider creating this, like I showed you initially, where someone would, put in some basic information, their first, last name, their email, and then when they choose finish, and I'll go ahead and put that here for demonstration purposes. I'll hit finish, and then it'll open up my calendar. So I also wanted to show this option just to give you, the whole kitchen sink of options where, Zero showed in the beginning where in a calendar item is being created and an engagement is being sent. Then we showed within an engagement, you could embed your calendar in there for them to choose a date and time. And this is kind of like the peak of the mountain. The most advanced option would be to build into your website the ability to, populate a form and then choose the time and date that they want to meet with you, all from your website. So that's just the web publishing option. Definitely explore that if you haven't. We have offices that are doing risk tolerance as a lead magnet on their website as well, so you can check that out. And if I go to our form library, I do also just want to point out the lead generation section. If we click more here, these are pre-built forms for lead magnets that you can consider using. So like I said, maybe you want to do a vacation planning, 5 steps to early retirement, 5 investor mistakes, whichever one that you want to use. You're just collecting basic information in order to allow them to download this. But this would be a great option to embed your calendar as well. So let's say, I really want to use this and I want my calendar option to be here as well. Then we could go ahead and, let's say, create a new group here. We'll just title this calendar. And I personally would disable this group header. And what that means is if I hit create right now, that word that I just typed in that says calendar is showing. It's relevant to, what's going to be here below. But sometimes it looks better to just disable that. So if I disable it, that header will go away and can sometimes look better. If you, want some advice, definitely reach out to us and we'll kind of give you those best practices of what to show and what to hide. But same thing here. If I go ahead and go to the calendar app, I change this to GReminders and I paste in my GReminders link, you're going to see that calendar option here. So then when I distribute this out, maybe you want to do a broadcast email to all of your, cold leads and send them this early retirement download. You can make a link even and use your CRM to cast a net over all of those cold leads and send a broadcast email to them. And it would create one individual email for each person, and it could include this link when they put in their information and submit it. You're going to get their information installed into PreciseFP as prospects, but then they also have the option to choose a time and date on your calendar. So a lot of great options there. And like I said, you just want to strategize on what you want your process to look like in regards to when they receive the calendar, or when you're gathering information, or where they're going to be filling out this information. You have all of the power to choose what works for you. So it's just a matter of, picking it from there. You have some links here created on the PreciseFP side and on the GReminder side of how the integration works. So to follow up this session, if you wanted to explore this a little bit more, definitely feel free to check out these links, and that'll kind of show those screenshot demonstrations for you. If you wanted to explore some of the things that we mentioned even further, we're more than happy to even, help you out in that process. You mentioned earlier about a trial.
We do a free 7-day trial where you basically get the entire platform, any integrations. It's an entire really sandbox environment that you have access to. You can really play around with it. As I mentioned, depending on how you answer the questions leading up to the trial, that will depend on the templates that have been loaded into your platform. However, you can also elect to just build it yourself. But I do recommend for advisors, we recommend from a best practice standpoint, the templates I think just offer a way, a foot in the door, rather than kind of having the whole platform, building it out from start to finish. It's definitely doable, but it's a lot easier to have those reminder templates already there. You can see how variables work. You can see how we template the platform. As long as you hit on GReminders.com, try it for free. You'll be able to sign up immediately. Again, you get that for 7 days, and then after that can elect to move forward with our Business Pro plan. That's how you'll get all these integrations. Or you can also book a much more personalized demo, and it's free. You'll just go to GReminders.com and select book a demo, and be connected with one of our customer success reps. They are so great, so knowledgeable. They can give you everything you need to know about best practice. They can show you things maybe a bit more personalized rather than this 30,000-foot view of the platform we looked at today. They can answer any questions or kind of see your existing processes and see maybe where we could fit in to them. So yeah, GReminders.com, try it for free or get a demo. Both of those are really great resources.
If you go to PreciseFP.com, there will be an option there for you to sign up if you're interested. It's better to have that, safe sandbox to play in to see if it's going to add value to your office. But there is a free trial button there, and that's a 14-day trial if you're, not knowing where to start. Sometimes it's best to just test it on yourself. Send yourself an engagement, put in your calendar, and see what that experience is like. But definitely once you nail down a process, you definitely want to share that with the team and let them know, don't worry about any of the other options. This is the way we're going to do it, and make sure everyone is aware of that route, since there are so many different ways to get these engagements and calendar items scheduled. And I know you mentioned something about cancellations. I am always intrigued to hear about how cancellations are handled. So how is GReminders handling the cancellation portion?
When someone cancels a meeting, our system will read that there's been this change, the meeting's been canceled on your calendar, and you can set up how you want that to be handled. So that process looks different for, a lot of different advisors, but you'll elect here a cancellation notification. You can create criteria. So maybe you have different cancellation reminders or notifications that go out depending on the appointment that was canceled. The differences are in those initial consultations or those introductory meetings. If a prospect cancels that, maybe we want something a bit more personalized. We don't want to lose that lead. So maybe the way we engineer it is a bit more expansive than just this appointment with so-and-so has been canceled on this date. Click here to reschedule, right? Instead, what you have the ability to do is say the event title contains the word or phrase, and let's say we call our introductory meetings or our initial consultations introductory meetings. You'll just create the criteria here, and now every meeting that gets canceled that has introductory in the title, they'll receive an email. This is a free form text field, and you can type whatever you want here. Now you'll see here these tiny little brackets, and they've got logic in them. We try to make this as easy as possible because this can be a bit cumbersome to anyone really. But what this looks like client facing is this. So depending on how you have this set up, there's an expansive list of drop-down variables here, and all you do is click to add any of these. So they look a little crazy, but once you have them put on here or variabled into this, they look like this client facing. So again, it really just depends on the type of meeting you're setting up. My personal reminders, right, are going to look a lot different. I'll be alerted that my meeting canceled, but a client reminder for a cancellation could say something like, we're so sorry you couldn't make it to your appointment. You can click this link here to reschedule or give our office a call. And then maybe you have some pointed links, right, to learn more about our company. Watch this video on testimonials of other clients that have worked with us. Things that maybe we just a little extra oomph. But this is also, from a cancellation perspective, just a really great way to alert the team in case you have a much more personalized, maybe you don't want it to be templated in that way, but we do want notification that it was canceled immediately. This is also a really great way to take advantage of those personalized reminders. So that way your CSA could get a reminder or a notification that this person has canceled, and your marketing team can jump on and call that prospect, right? So, but for an annual review, maybe this looks something like this. Once that is changed on your calendar, or somebody cancels through the link, then that would be sent out to them immediately.
Thank you so much for running through that, because I know that's, a big thing as well. And does that affect like the red tail workflow if the cancellation happens?
That's exactly right. So a couple different things happen with the integration from when somebody cancels. So if you have workflows attached to that meeting, you have opportunities that created off that meeting, you have activity templates, you've got all these things that have kicked off. So what'll happen is if they reschedule, then we can change the date of those opportunities, right? We can change the adjustment date. But if they cancel, we can set an activity within both your Wealthbox and Redtail CRM to have you look at the workflow to say, does this need to be adjusted? Do we want, if they're rescheduling, does this need to be adjusted? So that way you can stay on top of all of the processes that kicked off from this meeting. And then, of course, if that meeting is rescheduled, we can adjust those dates. So from cancellation to rescheduling, both of those things, you'll see changes within your CRM when that happens, even outside of reminders. So that way your operations team can make sure they stay on top of keeping your CRM clean. And then, of course, that way you're alerted and notified and can work through any of those processes that you need to update.
That is amazing, because instead of manually changing that date, it automatically gets changed, and that's a big saver, especially knowing all of the other dates will automatically adjust with that target date being changed.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
How many times do we forget to say, oh my gosh, they rescheduled for, 2 weeks out, and now this makes it seem like the opportunity is just floating there, or maybe there's no traction on it. it can
Mm.
be it can be a bit confusing. And also, any reminders or notifications that are sent out from our system actually write back to the notes section of the contact card. So that way you can at least
Wow.
see where did something change, or when you're trying to map it back in terms of those date changes and reschedules. It's really easy to stay on top of it in that regard.
Really great. Well, thank you so much for your time today, everyone. And reach out to us if you have any specific questions. We both seem to have that chat icon in the bottom right hand corner. So definitely feel free to throw any questions to follow up to date in there, and we're more than happy to help. But otherwise, thank you all so much for your time today and have a great rest of the day.